did you ever grow up watching Ron Swoboda? Was he the only Met player to
Okay, I'm
stay
not
with
that
his career? But like, was he? If you had to go back in time, I'm saying
Swoboda's before me. But if I had to,
you
the
go
truth
back in
is,
time, yeah.
if I could go
See.
back in time,
Yeah.
I have a photo in my office, and I'm actually not a big memorabilia collector.
Okay.
But there's a photo that was given to me as a gift, and just so happens that it was taken on my birthday before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask all the time if you could go back and see someone, who would it be? And it's Sandy Koufax pitching to Willie Mays.
Wow.
And for me, that is the ultimate matchup, right? Koufax was just the consummate left-handed professional competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, in talking to ex-ball players especially, I don't think anybody personified the joy of playing baseball the way Willie Mays did. And the photo is of Koufax in release.
Right, from his like driving part
and the
of
ball's
the play.
just coming out of his hand,
Right.
and Mays is loading, and it's for me the ultimate moment. So if I could go back, it wouldn't actually be a Met or somebody that I would want to see the game. It was those two competitors, because they truly, I can't say it enough, personified the joy of playing baseball. And look, that's what we try to instill in ball players. It's not how do I acquire skill at 7, even though, look, we do a lot of skill-focused instruction.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do we inspire passion and continue to fuel that passion, because the more immersed you are in something, the more you want to do it, the more you enjoy it, the better you will be. So for us, it's how do we really drive that passion and fuel that passion? And I look to players like that. I mean, look, and by today's terms, I mentioned Mookie Betts. You watch him play the game, he's smiling.
All the time.
All the time.
Even if he gets pushed back inside.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's not smiling for the camera. It looks like he can't help himself. Where you look at the way Ichiro played the game,
Phenomenal.
it's fascinating. Right? Put aside the 250 hits, right? You can't put that aside.
Yeah, George Sisler, right.
How do you just watched him play the game, and it wasn't about respect for the game, even though it was. It wasn't about 250 hits, which it was. The way he carried himself, there was never a time where it was for the camera. It was his genuine character, right?
Yeah.
Every moment of every day, the work ethic that he had, he's the ultimate role model for a child today.
And also for international baseball, it's the biggest landscape to have guys like Ichiro Suzuki, Hideki Matsui, Hideo Nomo also.
Do you remember what Matsui said when he broke his wrist?
I forgot.
I apologize to the fans for having broken my wrist.
Really? That was 04, 06. When was that?
I don't remember the year. I remember he dove for a ball and the wrist bent backwards. He broke the wrist.
And he was still
gonna be out.
positioning, right?
Yeah, he was playing, I think, left field. He broke the wrist, and in the paper the next day, through his translator, I apologize to the fans of the New York Yankees for having broken my wrist.
Apologizing. It's like the proper end in Japan news media. I guess that's the landscape compared to just the politeness. It's a different culture side effect. I'm seeing it now with certain games that I can get up to a day, and it's cool to see the camaraderie and chemistry from other countries that love the sport so much. And going back to Willie Mays was actually one of the most premier end players in the Caribbean Series in the 1950s. He played for Santurce de Caranjeros, and they were one of the most historic teams in the 50s in Puerto Rico, all the Caribbean during that time frame. So, I mean, it definitely plots the dots to see these guys like go to the Winter League, still have a lot of rehab start stints, and with Sandy Koufax too, he played in Caguas for the Criollos de Caguas team in Puerto Rico. So yeah, it all connects the dots to see the game in a global spectrum, not
Look at
just
the World
here.
Baseball Classic.
Right.
Aside from, I'm not a big fan of the bat flip and all the theatrics, but if you watched, and I don't think I'm alone in this observation, if you watched the character of the teams and the ball players during the World Baseball Classic, it looked like they were genuinely just having fun.
Right.
And that's what baseball should look like, right? All the time, at every level, youth, all the way up even to pro. And look, you get into a slump, so on and so on. It shouldn't break you from enjoying the game. If it does, you're not long for the game, right?
It's not meant for you, right? This is a game where you will fail more than you will succeed.
Look, people say to us all the time, what makes baseball difficult is that it's a game of failure. If you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're an
An
all-star,
all-star.
maybe even a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't think what makes baseball difficult is that it's a game of failure. What makes baseball difficult is you can't control the outcomes. So you
Right.
go up 10 at bats, you swing hard all 10 at bats, 3 of your at bats hit line drives into the gap, and Mookie Betts is out there making a diving play. Right? Is that a success or a failure?
Yeah.
By the box score, it's a failure. You're 0 for 1. The next at bat, you get up, you check swing, it breaks your bat, it dumps in over the first baseman's head, you hustle your butt off, you're on second base. That's a success in the box score.
In the box score, right?
Yet if you do that 10 times, your batting average is nil. If you're driving balls, into the outfield, hitting them over 100 miles an hour, and they get caught sometimes, you will be a success over time. So what makes the game difficult is not the failure rate. It's the inability to control your success. The only thing you can control is your process. The only thing that the fans are judging is the outcome.
Right.
So that's, to me, what makes it so difficult. And you need to be comfortable with that, right? I went over, look, Vladdy did it just the other day, right? Hit 2 home runs one game, went 0 for 4 the next game, and hit another one the next game. Had he gotten down after the 0 for 4, the next game doesn't see any real success.
Yeah, and even guys like Jock Peterson, he hit 3 home runs the other night at Oracle, and he's a strikeout home run type of guy. Like, I could even compare him to Adam Dunn when he was playing for the White Sox and Reds. And it's like a lot of these guys, and he was kind of questioning coming back to the major leagues, and he actually wanted to take his talent to Japan. I surfaced a tweet about that. That's how I found out, because in the MLB, it's a different standard when you're a strikeout home run hitter in this day of age, and it's very analytic, and we're living through times where metrics are gonna pan out for some of these players, and we're seeing with guys like Tyler Austin. He's doing well with Yokohama, and he did well for Team USA last year in the Olympics with Mike Scioscia at the helm. So yeah, it's whatever's comfortable with somebody's spotlight, and certain foreign players and what they're accustomed to as well. And I'm like seeing the other leagues blossom out of the pandemic. The KBO we saw on ESPN from May of the start of 2020. Taiwan has a lot of blossoming players too with the CBPL. Outside of Nippon Professional Baseball, these are great leagues to follow, and there's generational end players too that will hatch their mark into the MLB circuit very soon, just like we're seeing with Seiya for the Chicago Cubs.
And look, you've got, I think, half a dozen teams in Australia in the Australian Baseball League now.
Right.
It's growing and growing. Look, we're heading over in a couple of weeks to Poland as a mission to Poland to train and play with Ukrainian orphan children. And we had no idea that there was actually a Little League presence in Poland. And you're seeing it grow into East Europe. It'll be very interesting to see how greater contribution internationally will continue to have an impact on the game.
Oh yeah, and I also wanted to give a recommendation too with Israel. Last year they did the exhibition series here up at Rockland, and then they had other games around the Mid-Atlantic, also Keyspan Park. Now too in Brooklyn they did one game with the FDNY. They did a game out in Long Island with NYPD Blue. Air Colts that runs the complex up for Game On 13 has done a wonderful job as well, and it's good to see colleagues just blossoming other tutorial structures with academies and international baseball. It's the most amazing blend, through our eyes out of the pandemic to see this circuit for the youth of baseball, through the middle-age parameters of baseball and other end clientele of the game itself through scouting also. And this has been a great experience coming to New York Empire Baseball. If you haven't had the chance to come down here, it's on the west side, 60th Street, right near West End Avenue. Great facility also. And my name is Matthew Tallerini with World Baseball Network, here with the founder of Empire Baseball, Jordan Baltimore. Jordan, thank you so much once again.
Matt, really a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.